Hello pals and welcome back to another video. Today I am doing a draw with me session. We are going to draw a very cute Halloween character. Well, it's not really a Halloween character, it's a character for my Halloween collection, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a Halloween character. He will probably make appearances throughout other times too, but before we get into it, I need to tidy up this desk, so let's get that done first. Now that the desk is all tidy, we can crack on with that drawing. I am starting off with a photograph of a pencil sketch that I drew yesterday. So I sat on my couch last night and just doodled some Halloween characters, and I've loaded that into my Photoshop as like a reference for me to actually turn into a digital illustration. I don't start all my illustrations that way. Quite often I just go straight into Photoshop and start drawing and see what happens. But because I do draw from my laptop using a plug-in graphics tablet, it's really difficult for me to sit on the sofa and draw, which I do like to do in an evening. So I tend to sketch on paper in an evening while I'm sitting in front of the TV or watching some studio vlogs on YouTube or whatever it is I might be doing. I like to sit on the sofa and draw, but can't do that on my laptop. So, well, I could do that on my laptop, but it's really awkward. So I tend to start on paper occasionally and go from there. I'll talk you through what I'm doing a little bit here because some of you might not have ever seen digital illustration done on a computer like this. Even if you're familiar with digital illustration, you might have only seen it done on an iPad with a Apple Pencil or something similar. But I do mine all in Photoshop. Occasionally you might see the graphics tab pencil in my hand in this video because if I have to use the keyboard to type stuff, generally I just keep it in my hand. But what I'm really doing here is just going around all the line work that I think I need to do for this little character that I'm drawing. I always start with line work and then I add colour and shading and highlights, and I tend to leave my line work black. Not everybody does that. I've experimented with colouring in my line work, not having any line work at all. I really like the black line work, so I just tend to keep it in there. But do you know what? When you draw, I feel like there are so many different ways that someone will tell you you should do something, or this is the best way, or you're not a real artist unless blah 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 blah. The thing is, if you are putting pen or paint or chalk or your media of choice to paper or canvas or whatever and creating something, I don't care. That is artwork. It is art. It took me the longest time to be able to call myself an artist or an illustrator because I just felt like I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't doing the right techniques, or I didn't know the rules. And the biggest misconception about art, or at least what had been a huge misconception for me, is that there are no rules. As long as you are creating something that you love, and even if it looks crap at the end, as long as you love the process, that is art. I don't care what anybody says. It's artwork and it's supposed to be fun. There are not supposed to be so many rules, and it doesn't matter if what you've drawn doesn't look exactly like real life. That is part of the fun. I mean, how many of you have ever seen a toadstool with arms, legs and a face? Like, that is not a real thing. It's a made up thing. There are plenty of people who have drawn that, for sure. I'm one of them. There are some really famous characters as well, which are essentially that same concept. But it doesn't mean it's not good artwork just because it's not real true to life. So, yeah, that was a bit of a ramble, but don't ever let anybody tell you that your art is not good enough, because it is. It is. If you like it, there will be at least one other person in the world who likes it. And if there is one other person in the world that likes it, there will be more than that. So do your thing, draw your artwork. I'm going to shut up now and let you watch me sketch a bit more. Okay, now I have got that line work pretty much finished up how I would like it, and I am going in with some colour. You will have seen just a second ago on the screen I pulled up a colour palette, which is sort of taken from my brand colours, although it has my old logo on it. I haven't updated that yet because why bother? It's not really necessary. I do often like to take colours from my brand colours, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they always stay that way. You'll see in a little bit after I've coloured in the base of this little mushroom that I change the colour of it because I don't love it, but I do often use those colours as a starting point and then sort of adapt from there. You can see I'm now going in and taking the colour that I like to call Rusty Edge. I named that myself. It's a kind of orangey red colour, so I've been in, colour picked that, and I'm using that for his little feet, and I will use it for his little mushroom top as well. It just really just gives me a starting point of where to start with colours and to use colours that I know pair well together. I do often experiment, but generally I come back to a kind of neutral, muted colour palette because I'm a bit beige, quite honestly. I'm not, although saying that, I did poll my audience on Instagram as to whether or not they thought I was beige or colourful, and people seem to think I'm colourful, but I think of myself as being really beige. I don't know how that works out, but it is what it is. Anyway, I am colouring in the top here. I'm gonna, again, stop talking, let you watch this colouring in process, and I will meet you back when we start the shading. Right, I am back with you for the shading. What you can see on the screen right now is me setting up a new multiply layer. For anyone who is familiar with digital drawing, you will know what that means. For anyone who is not familiar with digital drawing and doesn't know what that means, it basically just means that it creates a darker color. So it's a whole new layer of putting brushwork down basically, but it uses the same color that you've already got as a base but makes it darker, so you can use it for shadows and shading. So what you'll see me do in this little part of the clip is to basically add in anywhere that I think would naturally be shaded. Now, I can't really explain to you how I know where to put the shading. I kind of am just making it up as I go along. I cannot in my mind tell you exactly what I'm doing because it just sort of happens and it evolves. And don't get me wrong, it's been a lot of trial and error and, you know, a lot of practice to be able to do that. But I am not classically trained in art or drawing or illustration, so I have just figured out these things for myself, and yeah, honestly cannot even explain how I do it. I just kind of do, which I know is really, really annoying for anybody who's watching this really wanting to learn. I have no tips from you. My tip would be, if you really want to learn, just practice and go out there and find people who are really good at explaining what they do, not me, because I am not good at explaining what I do. I just kind of do it. But yeah, as this goes on, you'll see I add shading generally around the edges of all of the shapes, and anywhere that would kind of naturally fall into a shaded area. I will let you watch my shading process, and if it gives you any tips, then great, because like I said, I'm not good at explaining what I'm doing, but I'll let you watch the shading, and then after that you will see me doing the same process basically, but with highlights. And where I said I use a multiply layer to do shading, I then go in and use a screen layer to do highlights. If you know what that means, then great. If you don't know what that means, it's basically the same as the shading layer, which we use a multiply layer. The screen layer is basically the same thing, but instead of giving a darker colour, it gives a lighter colour. If that meant nothing to you, don't worry about it. If you're not interested in how Photoshop works, no sweat. I'm going to let you watch my little bit of shading, and then we will be pretty much done with this character. Here you can see I am just getting started with the highlights portion of this character. Generally, this is how I draw. I do line work, I put base colours down, I go in with some shade, and then I go in with some highlights. And that is pretty much all there is to it. I mean, I make it sound really, really easy. There's obviously some amount of artistic skill that comes with that, which again, like I said, I'm not trained. I've never taken art lessons in my life. Apart from at school, they taught me basically nothing. I don't know what I'm doing, except clearly I do know what I'm doing in some capacity, but yeah, like I say, I've never been trained, but that is my process, is to do line work, base color, shade, and highlight. And that's pretty much all I do. So whether or not that is the correct technique, I don't know. But as we said earlier, I don't think there are any correct techniques when it comes to art. If you can make something work, does it matter? Does it matter if you are not doing it the technically correct way, as long as you are getting an end result, or even just a process that you are happy with? Even if you don't like the end result, as long as you enjoyed the process of making the art, who cares? Enjoy yourself, live your life, have fun, do what you want to do, be weird, you know? Anyway, back to the drawing, and there is only a little bit left to do, and then we will have a finished character. And there we have it. Say hello to Freddy Fungi. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. If you do enjoy them, let me know in the comments, because I am really new to this and I don't know exactly at this point what people like to watch, what they don't like to watch. So let me know if you enjoyed this. It really helps me to create more content that you might like. Also, if you didn't enjoy it, let me know that too. Hey, I can take it. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because all those things help me build my channel, and I will see you next time, pals.